How you doing? To Sean Woods of your City of Coaches podcast. I know I'm out and about. You know, we trying to be precaution with the COVID situation going on in America. But I do have a special guest today, coach over at Washington High School here in Phoenix, Arizona. Yes, actually in the city of Arizona. Coach Lopez, how you doing, man?
Good, man. Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the show. 100%, man. How you feeling?
Good. We were supposed to do this over at Washington High School. We couldn't because we've had some COVID concerns. So we're supposed to do it at Kellis High School. More COVID concerns. So we're grinding, right? We're in the park. It's not too hot yet, so happy to be here, man.
I can talk hoops anywhere, so it's not a big deal at all, man. Appreciate you coming, man.
Appreciate it.
So you just took over at Washington High School. For the people who don't know, what part of the town is actually, because Phoenix is so huge.
Yeah.
Like East Valley, West Valley, I don't know. So,
right. So we are in the Glendale Unified School District. So we're right off the exit of, like we were just talking before, I moved here about 2 years ago. I'm not totally familiar with all of Arizona yet, but we're right off Glendale. It's right next to, we're like right across the freeway from Grand Canyon University.
Really?
Yeah, so it's kind of like right, it's not central Phoenix, but it's kind of like right in the heart where you don't know if you're in Phoenix or Glendale anymore. So it's like right in that area. It's perfect.
I've been out there a lot lately. I mean, obviously you said with at the Kellis School with Coach Stenson. Shout out to Coach Stenson as well. I've been at the State Farm. Is that the?
Yep, the State Farm, the stadium over there.
Yeah, that's some business over there.
Yeah,
so I've been in the area quite a lot lately. So definitely will see how you're going. So taking over, you say you got the position back March, correct?
Yeah, so I got hired March 11th. I was actually I was in the airport. I was on my way back home to go. I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico. I was on my way back home to go watch the state tournament over there, and some of my buddies were competing in the state tournament. And I got the call in the airport. I got super emotional. I did, yes. I got super emotional. Like, I was a head coach before in New Mexico, and didn't know if I was ever going to get a call like that again. So I was really excited to get that call, and I had to go find a place to cry and get emotional about it. But as we all know, the world got turned upside down on March 13th. With the NBA getting shut down and all that stuff getting shut down.
Yeah.
Actually, when I was in New Mexico, the state tournament, they didn't allow fans, so I went to go watch the state tournament. Got there, was able to watch the first day of the tournament, and the rest of the tournament, they didn't allow any fans, so I kind of just had to hunker down at my mom's house and hang out for a little bit. But yeah, so it's been a challenge getting hired, and then not being able to talk to your kids right away. But yeah, so March 11th got hired, and March 13th, like I said, everything got crazy. So just kind of grinded away, man, just trying to figure out a way to meet everybody and connect a little bit.
And you're doing it, man. You're making sure you're putting yourself out there. We have to talk about Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yeah.
Some nice hooper situations, especially the college and semi-pro level as well. So give me a rundown of some of your experience down in New Mexico.
So I was really lucky. So when I played at Manzano High School, and when I was at Manzano, we were, the program was always really good. My senior year, I was on a really, really good team. I was a very average player. I could shoot it a little bit and pass a little bit. My coach, though, who ended up being one of my mentors, was a defensive first guy. And if you can't guard, you can't play for him. Sometimes I didn't play a whole lot, right? And so, but I got really lucky because I played on a really good team. And then as soon as I graduated, I started coaching for him. And so I spent 5 years at Manzano High School as an assistant coach. Moved on to Highland High School for 2 years. I worked under a guy named Danny Brown, who's a really, really good coach too. And then I got my opportunity at Socorro High School. I was 24 years old at the time. And Socorro is very different than all the other places I coached. So Socorro is a small school, it's a 4A school, and I coached at, they were 6A schools back then.
Okay.
And to be honest, New Mexico, I don't know if New Mexico is great at basketball, but they love basketball. The state tournament's one of the most attended state tournaments in the nation. Recently, there's been a lot more. There's a kid that his name is JB White that's getting ready. He's a nationally ranked guy, and he's getting ready to play over at the University of New Mexico, which is great. So, not a ton of I think we had a guy back in 2008, a guy named Jeff Taylor played in the NBA for a couple. He went to Hobbs High School, so not a ton of super elite talent like here in Phoenix and here in Arizona. But New Mexico loves basketball. I've never seen a state tournament like New Mexico has. It's pretty wild.
No, I say that because of the fact that you guys support the college teams, and a lot of boys come in from other states to play at New Mexico,
no question.
New Mexico State or East New Mexico, all the schools over there. A lot of people come in, and you guys get a nice little fan base. Just dogs.
So yeah, I went to college at the University of New Mexico, so I'm a big Lobo guy. But Pascal Siakam, who played a huge role for the Raptors, he went to New Mexico State. Danny Granger played at New Mexico, who played in the league and had at a really elite level, especially in those early Miami Heat years. Remember, he was battling with LeBron and all that. So yeah, New Mexico loves basketball. It's great because we don't have any professional teams in New Mexico, so the Lobos are our NBA team. So super passionate. Going to games is fun, and the state tournament is held in the pit where the Lopez play.
Right. Yeah.
So it's kind of like an accomplishment as a coach or as a player if you got to play in the pit. So it's good.
Yeah, I had my experience that playing at OSU, so I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
So you decided, you had your experience in Albuquerque. You come up here.
Yep.
What are some of the programs you were a part of before you became in Washington?
Yeah, so like I said, head coach for 2 years at Socorro, New Mexico, Socorro High School. Moved here to Phoenix, and I worked with Andre Rogers over at Sandra Day O'Connor, which is a 6A school. We got really lucky. So it was his first year as the head coach. He took over for a guy named Matt King. Matt King is the executive director of the Coaches Association here in Arizona and works with USA Basketball and all that stuff. So we got really lucky. We had a really good team. In our first year, we got to the state tournament. And I mean, you know about Arizona basketball. Making the state tournament in Arizona is a huge accomplishment.
Yeah.
There's so many schools, and it's kind of hard to get in there. So we got to the Sweet 16 of the tournament. We lost to Chaparral, who ended up making a run to the title game. And, spent 2 years at O'Connor, learned a ton. So here's what's different about here's what's different about Arizona than New Mexico. You're allowed to have club programs here in Arizona that can feed into your high school program. In New Mexico, that's a huge no-no, right? And what's great about here in Arizona is you can kind of build your youth program and build a program. And the other thing is you can make some money, right? You can provide for your family as a coach, which is kind of new to some coaches, right? So I was able to work. It was called the Junior Eagles program, which fed into Sandra Day O'Connor. And then, like I said, I spent 2 years there, and then the opportunity at Washington opened up, and it's kind of hard to pass up. I wanted to be a head coach again, and Washington really fits kind of where I grew up. I grew up in a single mom. A lot of those kids grew up the same way. The demographic was really more what I was used to. So yeah, great opportunity. I hated leaving Sandra Day O'Connor.
Okay, yeah.
But I couldn't pass up the opportunity to be a head coach at Washington.
Definitely, you got to get your feet wet, especially if you got as you said, opportunity here in Arizona.
Right.
And tides are turning usually, and even like people like me who are like old in the game, like understanding the AAU part. I mean, that was a no-no for me because in Ohio you're actually considered an employee of the school, which is more or less Arizona. You're an independent contractor, so it's a little bit different.
Right.
So I'm learning as we go as well. Not to be so critical because I used to hate AAU. I don't like it. Anyone who does it, I'm starting to understand. I'm learning more. I mean, that's what it is when you're not educated in something, and I'm understanding it more, so I'm less critical 100%.
Well, and the cool thing about it here is, I've had the opportunity to work with a great program called the YDA, the Youth Development Academy, and it's run by Matt King. And so all of our club teams, we had we call it club, but all of our feeder teams, we had 5th through 8th grade, and they all played in the YDA. That it's a league where you can't zone at a certain age. Can't press at a certain age. And if you do press, it has to be man-to-man. You can't trap or anything like that. So it really teaches kids how to play, the quote-unquote right way.
Right.
And the league that we got to play in was great because, the kids got to play. They got to learn how to play the right way. Parents were never an issue because, Matt does a really good job with running the league, how it should be run.
Right.
So we did put some of our better teams in the AAU circuit and let them play a little bit, but we mostly stayed in the YDA. And it was really about development. We just want to develop our talent so when they get to Sandra Day, they're ready to play instead of, some AAU programs exposure. They want to get seen by college coaches, and that's all fine and dandy. We didn't have those type of kids in our program, so we were really just trying to develop our talent so we can compete when they got to us at Sandra Day.
So you're at Washington.
Yep.
And the biggest thing is, what you have coming back? I mean,
so it's funny. We have, if you look at the roster from last year, we have 10 guys coming back. So they didn't graduate a ton, right?
Okay.
So we're going to be young. We have a guy who's going to be a junior. His name's Alonzo Cummings, who was a sophomore last year. And big, long, athletic kid who can really play. We have another really big kid. He's 6'6". His name's Grayson. Big, kind of looks like a football kid kind of deal. And he's going to be a junior. And then we have some seniors too. A guy named Jesse Yarvez who's going to be good, bigger, long, athletic kid. And the biggest thing we have at Washington is we have really tall, long dudes, which is great as a coach, right? You always want to coach really long, athletic guys. So I think we're going to be fine. Our region is going to be very wide open. There's no one in our region. I think Willow Canyon, who's in our region, their head coach is Coach Coletti. He's been there, I think this is his 3rd or 4th year.
Okay.
Everybody else is is new. So Independence has a new coach. I know Glendale's kind of up and down when it comes to talent and stuff. So North Canyon has an established coach. So it's going to be, I think our region's wide open. I don't think there's one team that's the team to beat. It's going to be, who's playing well at the right time, who's getting coached up the right way and stuff like that. And every coach in our region is pretty good. I like to think I'm one of them, but we'll find out, I guess.
I mean, you will, like, what I'm saying, as long as you have the work ethic as a coach and learning the players and stuff like that. You know, I mean, you might have it. You said you got 10 guys coming back.
Right.
Are they returning varsity or?
Yeah, so
how's that?
all those 10 guys were listed on the varsity team. You know, before I interviewed for the job, I was able to get a hold of a bunch of film and watch. So I didn't get to see all those 10 guys, you know, but all 10 of those guys played varsity at one point last year. So that's always huge. Experience is big, as you know. I think the biggest thing is everything I saw in film and everything I was able to see in workouts before we got shut down is they play really hard, they're really coachable, and they're great teammates. So you take care of those three things. You know, we'll see what happens with the scoreboard, but that stuff makes it easier to coach.
So Beverly's still young, but have a lot of experience.
Yeah.
What are some of your go-to speeches that you give your players and stuff like that?
Yeah, so you know, everywhere I've coached at, we've had 3 core values, and I just mentioned them. Is you're going to play hard, you're going to be coachable, and you're going to be a great teammate.
Right.
And if we take care of those 3 things and we lose, it is what it is, man. Maybe they're more talented, or you know. But my biggest thing is those 3 things need to get taken care of, and I always tell my kids this: it's not a basketball thing, it's a life thing, right? Being a great teammate is, are you a good employee? Can you provide at your place of work one day in the future, right, when you graduate high school? Being coachable, you're gonna have a boss one day, you're gonna have a wife one day, she's your boss. Can you be coachable, right? And the biggest thing is working hard. You got to play really hard, you got to be able to be pushed, and I tell them this all the time: you don't deserve to pass that test if you didn't study, right? We deserve to win a game if we didn't practice hard or whatever it is. So everything we do at Washington is designed to get them prepared for life when they graduate, because very few of them are going to play college basketball. If they do, that's great, but very few of them are going to play in the NBA or professionally. So what our main deal at Washington is to produce great young men, and whatever that is, whether they're going to be bosses, they coach, they do it. I'm a teacher, whatever they go on to be, they need to do it hard. They need to be coachable. They need to be great teammates.
So, you know, you being at the school you're at, and you may get one or maybe one player probably going to college and stuff like that. But there's researchers out there that I would like colleges to do, because me being a former junior college coach, I got a lot of kids who get no looks and stuff like that, and they're going on playing Division I.
Right.
You know, so it's very important that we preach out to these kids that, like, keep your grades up.
Right.
Because if you want to play basketball, you can play anywhere. You just have to put yourself in situations, obviously. You know, definitely want to stress that 100%, especially with you being at an inner city school.
Right.
You know, the kids not giving up. So I'm sure you got that in your speech and stuff like that when you're talking to them. And stuff.
Yeah, well, and like I said, you know, it's always, we preach this a lot. I'm gonna say it again. It's not a basketball thing; it's a life thing.
Yeah,
you know, and so
basketball life.
if you're having a hard time with this, life's a lot meaner than I am. I promise. And life's a lot meaner than basketball it is. I promise. So, the biggest thing we try to preach at Washington, or the biggest thing we are gonna try to preach, you know, once we get around our kids more, is in order to have success in life on the big thing, you got to have good character. And if you're not a good dude, we say this all the time: if you're not a good dude, it's not gonna work out. So,
yeah, that's true. So you've been a student of the game. Give me 5 head coaches, high school or college, that you draw from, or pro, because you know.
Sure. I think one of my biggest influence, a guy that I worked for in New Mexico for 5 years, or I should say 3 years. He moved on a little bit. But one of my biggest mentors was Travis Julian. He was my head coach when I played. I consider myself a defensive-minded guy. The way he teaches defense, the way I teach defense is identical. He's always had great success in New Mexico. I brought a little bit of that to Sandra Day O'Connor, and we were able to have some good success defensively on the defensive end. So he's a huge mentor for me. Another guy, his name's Danny Brown. I worked under him in New Mexico. And I got really lucky. So I worked for a really good defensive coach, and then when I moved on to Highland, I worked for a really good offensive coach. So I think I got really lucky. I was able to pick some brains of guys that are really good in that area. Another guy, and he's based here in Phoenix. He works with USA Basketball, and I mentioned him earlier, is Matt King. He's the head of the Coaches Association here. He's the executive director for youth basketball for USA Basketball in our Southwest region. And the biggest thing about him, we talked about character. Right? He's just a great human being. So I call him all the time and try to pick his brain on some stuff. In terms of professionally and all that stuff, I'm a huge Brad Stevens guy. I'm a big Lakers fan. I know you're a big Lakers fan too. So it pains my heart to say that I like a Celtics guy. My favorite player of all time is Bill Russell.
Brad Stevens is awesome.
So yeah, I always like to, especially like his side OB stuff, I always try to pick that stuff. And another person I've been trying to follow a lot too in the professional ranks is Greg Popovich, especially with all the stuff going on. He's been speaking out. I've always been a big Greg Popovich fan. But more than anything, his leadership style. He's been able to coach different types of dudes. Manage dudes from overseas, dudes from here in the United States, and so I've always, big in terms of a leadership standpoint, trying to learn as much from Greg Popovich as I possibly can.
Coach Pop, Brad Stevens. I mean, those two right there alone.
Really good, right?
I got an idea of what you got going on, what you're working on. 100%. Brad Stevens is a great basketball mind. people use this youth against them, but when you're a student,
right,
you know, it's a little bit different. Same with me. Like, I may not have been the emotional available, but X and O's, I could drop a play with them. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that. So it's like people like you will have the balance, right?
Right.
You have your emotional support and you'll have your IQ, so that's exciting.
And you know what's funny? Like, you know, this is gonna be my 12th season coaching, 3rd as a head coach, and I've learned relationships are everything. You know, like X's and O's are important. Like I've heard on your previous episodes talk about X's and O's. Obviously, that stuff's important. If you can't coach, it's gonna be really hard.
Yeah.
But I got really, like, my first year as a head coach in Socorro, I got really lucky. I was able to establish relationships right away, and it's an amazing feeling when a kid will text you 4 years, 5 years down the road, hey, thanks for this, or let's just talk, or whatever. And looking back on it, like, I think that team, we really have, you know, we had a small amount of success, but the success we had is because we had great relationships with each other. So, and I think now that the NBA is getting ready to restart, hopefully, right, that relationship part might be the team that wins it, whether it's the Lakers, hopefully, let's pray to God it's the Lakers, but whoever it is, maybe that relationship part, because they're going to be spending so much time together, it's going to be a huge factor.
It's going to be an interesting situation down there, trying to keep all those guys. But I get they're shutting down the whole park and such as like that.
Yeah, yeah. Who knows?
Speaking of shutdown, like, how do you feel? Like, how long are you guys going to be shut down more? Like, you know.
I have no idea. We're going to be, you know, we were going 2 weeks strong. And then, you know, the spike in cases here, obviously, we had to kind of shut down a little bit. So we are just shut down for the rest of this week. So hopefully Friday or Thursday, I'm getting a call from my athletic director, and he's telling me, hey, we can get back started Monday or whatever it is, right? So I don't know. My biggest concern, and Duran mentioned this at Kellis, the guy you talked to, is safety is the biggest concern. And the other concern too is making sure that we are all on the same, not competitive playing field, because different districts are going to do what they want to do. That's fine. Yeah. But we're all on the same field of, like, this is what we're doing for safety. And I think a problem that I've seen so far is a lot of coaches from different districts, they're kind of going full blow, which makes sense. I get it, because I want to do the same thing, but just from a safety standpoint, making sure we're all on the same page. And because God forbid, I don't want to get a kid sick or a kid get me sick and then we come in contact with somebody that can't handle it.
Family, yeah.
Right. So just being patient. That's my biggest thing I've been preaching to my coaches,
especially
my kids.
You're in the new state, coaching. I can see. I told someone the other day. I said, I don't know. When I took over down in Tucson, I don't know if I'd have been too happy right now, because I remember just being right there with them all week, and that's a good thing. Like I said prior to episode, like, you guys can go all year. Right. Most states can't.
Yeah. Right. Especially New Mexico.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's been my biggest thing is patience. You know, it's been hard because that's not a trait that I pride myself on necessarily, but if we're not patient and we just go back into it, like, another thing I've been worried about too is kids getting hurt. Like, what if we're in the gym and we're trying to go crazy and a kid tweaks an ankle or pulls something because he's not ready and stuff like that. So patience. I think getting our kids in the gym is positive though, because kids are at home, they're playing video games all day. I'm trying to stay off my video games all day, so just trying to be active as much as I can.
So so let's say fall comes. You guys are you into where you're planning?
Right.
Is it, like, how's that going? Is that going to be like a fall league? Or,
sure.
Like, how's that going?
So we definitely plan on being in the fall league. Sandra Day O'Connor, along with Willow Canyon and some other schools, they run a really good fall league, and it's perfect. It's about 4 weeks. You play 2 games every Saturday, and then the last week I think we do kind of like a tournament style thing. So it's perfect, and then it bleeds right into November, and then you're getting ready for your season, right? So fall league would be great. Getting in the gym would be great. Being able to teach in a normal setting would be great, because I'm also a teacher at Washington. All that would be great. So that's what we're planning on doing. The biggest thing going into that fall thing is, are there going to be people in the stands? Can we play in front of people? Do we have to wear masks and all that stuff? So it's a weird time, but I'll coach in a mask. I'll coach in a hazmat suit. Whatever you got to do,
right? As long as you're part of the game.
That's right.
That's 100%. So give me some of your schemes. Like, what did you plan to have? I'm not saying give me the details of your plays.
Sure. The biggest thing we're going to do at Washington, I told my coaches this when I hired them and my players when I was able to meet with them, we're going to guard. And we have a motto in our pro, it's the same motto I came up with. You can't guard, you can't play.
Right.
And we're going to pride ourselves on keeping teams 55 or below, because if we're keeping teams 55 points or less, then I think we're going to have a great chance to win. We were able to do that at O'Connor, especially our first year. We only gave up, I think, 53 points a game, and we won close to 20 games. So if you can't guard, you can't play. And that's hard for some kids, but it's going to be a mindset. It's going to be our culture. Another thing, is we're going to really pride ourselves on the offensive end of taking good shots for you. So a good shot for you might not be a good shot for me, and a good shot for me might not be a good shot for you, right? So preaching taking good shots for that player, and sometimes players, a good shot might be they have a little bit, some players have a longer leash than other dudes, when it comes to that kind of stuff. So we're going to pride ourselves on taking really good shots for that player, and we're also going to pride ourselves on being able to share it. And so I think here it's more likely in New Mexico, but here in Arizona, basketball is the same. If you guard really well and you share it really well, you're going to have a great chance to win. And my biggest thing offensively is I just want to be hard to guard.
Mm-hmm.
If you're easy to guard, that's when you can get steamed and that's all that other stuff. So we just want to be hard to guard. So our motto defensively, you can't guard, you can't play. Our motto offensively is be hard to guard.
So, like, even with the season coming and stuff like that, obviously fundraising, sponsorship, stuff like that.
Yep.
What are some of your ideas to help support the program?
Yeah, so it's been really hard to fundraise because a lot of fundraising opportunities requires contact with other people, right? Whether it's a car wash, whether you're selling stuff or anything like that. So I'm still waiting to get word on what we're allowed to do and what we're not allowed to do in terms of fundraising. But the biggest thing is, I'm at a school at Washington where, at Sandra Day we did fundraising, but it was more for trips and stuff like that. But kids bought all their gear at Sandra Day, and there's just a different demographic over there. Yeah. And I was surprised, a kid would show up and be like, "Hey, here's my money, all my gear." And we're giving them a backpack full of stuff, right?
Yeah. At
Washington, and it's the same at Socorro. This is not our demographic, so all the gear that our kids are going to get, it's going to be fundraised, and they get to keep it. It's theirs forever, and it's really important. I'm a big gear guy. I wish I had more gear, but you look good, you play good. If you have gear that kids they see around campus, hey, they want to be a part of it.
Right. Yeah.
So hopefully we can get a jump start on fundraising, but we're actually getting new uniforms, which is always fun. The kids always like that. Yeah. So hopefully we look good. I'm hoping we play well. We'll see. I think we're gonna look good though.
Well, I mean, look is half the battle, but playing is most of the battle. So you definitely, I say that because especially some programs, they may need that help.
No
fundraising and stuff like that. So it's good that you have something to play in.
No question.
Something like that. Even GoFundMe's I hear are out there. So like. It's good that you have plans.
I might get a GoFundMe for me if anyone wants to give me stuff. I'm a teacher, man. I might need a GoFundMe for me.
I get it. How did you finish out the school year? Like all Zoom meetings and stuff like that?
Yeah, it was weird. So I was teaching at a middle school. So I was coaching at Sandra Day. I was teaching at a different school, and then we finished out the school year. It was funny because I go to Albuquerque March, get the job, I come back March 13th. It was a Friday. It was a Friday right before spring break. And I remember I didn't tell any of my students this, but I remember telling the teachers, like, we're not coming back. And they were like, we'll be back, we'll be fine, we'll be back. I was like, I just don't think we're going to come back. So we didn't. And it was Zoom meetings, it was Google Classroom, it was all that stuff. So difficult, but our kids, I was super proud of my kids, super proud of my administration. We were able to figure it out.
Have you conducted that with the players by any chance, by Zoom meetings, stuff like that?
Yeah, so when I first met all of them, we have a Google Classroom for our basketball team. And so that's how I communicate with them. We have a group chat too and our text. So, hey, here's the Zoom link. And so I met with every player in our program through the Zoom meeting. I hired coaches through Zoom meetings and stuff like that, right? So I got lucky with being able to find some guys that were ready and willing to stay on and get after a little bit. So, but yeah, that's been, before we were able to get in the gym, I was meeting with about 3 kids a week just via Zoom meeting.
Right.
We talked about 2K. I was just trying to build relationships with the kids. So we talked about 2K. We talked about what's going on with them at home. And so thank God for Zoom, right? Thank God for FaceTime. Thank God for all that stuff.
So if you don't mind me asking, the most important thing, like you said, like just make sure building relationships and stuff like that. So let's get off the cuff a little bit. You probably heard me ask these questions. Like you have opportunity to coach 5 players in your system.
Sure.
No matter who they are. Let's go.
Professional, wherever.
Doesn't matter who actually will look good in your system.
Right. So I think the biggest thing as a high school coach is you always need to adapt to your players. So a lot of coaches have a system, right? My system is, in terms of defensively, we're going to guard. That's the non-negotiable. We're always going to guard. Now, offensively is always different, right? Like you might have big kids, small kids, fast kids, whatever it is. The biggest thing I want in my program, it doesn't matter what levels, I want competitive kids. Right. I'm a competitive animal. So if I could coach anybody, it'd be the most competitive dudes. Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, those guys. Bill Russell was a huge competitor. Shaquille O'Neal was, when he wanted to be a competitor, right? A little bit. So I just want to coach competitive dudes, and I've always looked up to the Bill Russells, the Kobes, and we just got done watching the Michael Jordan documentary, obviously. If you're competitive, you're gonna have a chance, and especially at a school like Washington, where we might not get the most talent, but we're tough and we're competitive. That's how we're gonna win. And here's what I've learned too. Like Matt King told me this. There are 3 types of schools. There's talented schools, there's smart schools, and there's tough schools. And so Washington, we're in the tough category. We might not be very talented, we might not have a super high basketball IQ, but we're extremely tough. An example, like Pinnacle High School, they're a talented school. They might not be super tough, they might not be high basketball IQ guys, but they're so talented, right? So each school, each coach needs to find their niche on how they can win. And at Washington, the way we're going to win is by our toughness. At Sandra Day, we had a ton of really smart kids, valedictorian, top of their class kids, and we were able to get really complicated with how we schemed up dudes. So we weren't super talented, we weren't super tough, but we were really smart, and we were able to get some wins by the things that we were able to do maybe that some other schools couldn't do. So yeah, toughness and competitiveness, that's the biggest thing that fits my system. I X's and O's we can talk about all day, but if you're tough and you're competitive, you're gonna be fine with me. Yeah.
So you said tough. I had to hit you on that. So parents are tough.
Yeah.
Faculty is tough. Athletic directors are tough.
For sure.
So like, if a parent has a question, like, what is your policy when it comes to questions and stuff like parents? Something like that after a game.
For sure.
After a game, yeah.
For sure. You know, it's funny. When I was the head coach in New Mexico for 2 years, it didn't end great. You know, I had issues with the administration and nothing personal. It was just they thought we should do things one way. I thought we should do things the other way, right? So I think the biggest thing when dealing with parents and administration, we have a policy at Washington. We're not going to meet with parents before or after games. Right. We need 24 hours to kind of digest. Because I'm an emotional guy, and if we meet after a game, you might be emotional too. And it's best to just leave it for 24 hours, right? So we have a 24-hour rule. So if a parent texts me or calls me or emails me, hey, let's meet, I say, sweet, let's give it 24 hours and we'll talk. So never before or after games. The other thing with parents too, and this is always tough for some parents, and not just parents, administration or whatever, we're not going to talk about playing time. If your son wants to talk about playing time, me and your son will have that conversation, especially at the high school level. Like, we're trying to teach kids to be independent and be grown men. That's a grown man conversation that's happening. Yeah. And so we don't talk about playing time with parents. We're not going to talk about other players with parents. We're not going to talk about X's and O's with parents. So what it really comes down to is we're going to talk about, do you feel like your child's being treated unfairly? Let's talk about it. And do you feel like, what is there an area of improvement for me to better coach your child? But like I said, we're not going to talk about playing time. We're not going to talk about X's and O's. So what it really turns out at the end of the day is, there's not a whole lot for me and a parent to talk about, right? Unless they feel like there's something I need to be doing better as a coach to reach their child. So that's always been my policy, and it's tough. It's hard because parents want to talk about this, parents want to talk about that, and that's great. What I always tell our parents at our parent meeting is, hey, we're going to coach your kid together. It's not me versus you, or I'm the coach, you're the parent. We're in this thing together, man, and I'm gonna help you raise your child. You don't need help. Your child's gonna be great, right? I'm just here to play a small part in your child's life.
That's important. So you have the parent aspect. Now, in my experience, it's very important to have a relationship, a rapport with that director, principal, stuff like that. Sure. So if they've reached out and kept you on their things.
Yeah, I have a great AD. His name's Todd Nelson. I was able actually to meet with him and talk with him a little bit before I got the job. But so Todd is great. Our principal's great. I've only met her a couple times just because of all the crazy stuff going on. But my athletic director is phenomenal. All this stuff going on. He's been very clear about his expectations for the program. He doesn't want wins and losses. Of course he wants to win and, all that stuff. But he really wants to graduate the kids and prepare the kids for life, man. Yes. And if we look down the road 10 years from now and all of our kids they're working, they're in school, they're doing their thing, that's a win, right? Of course we want to win all this other stuff. And I told you I'm a competitive animal. But down the road, if all those dudes are successful, that's the only thing that really matters.
Yeah, man, you get them out there and get them into at least college, and finishing college, man, that's a successful coach in my opinion. Right. I say that because of the fact that a lot of parents, they sometimes are aggressive or not aggressive or don't talk at all and have issues. And like you said, you have a player, you don't even know what's going on. Right. Parents are withdrawing him from school is because the relationship is not there. So it's important that you're saying that they're invited. Right. Just within 24-hour time.
Yeah, and I don't want to meet with parents over a text or over a phone call because I think we might say things over a text or a phone call we would never say in person. Right. So I'm a big in-person guy. I mean, like I said, the relationship between an administration, a coach, and then a parent is huge. But I also think that there's a pecking order, right? Come to me, then we'll go to the AD if we need to, and then that relationship is built. The relationship needs to be built on two things: trust and love. Right. I love your kid. Right. I trust that you love your kid too. Trust me to do my job as I trust you to be a parent. Right. So.
Well, it sounds like you're already on the right path with that.
I hope so.
That's very exciting. So, obviously we have times like this going on in the world where it seems like we're, certain situations happen. It's kind of pulled us a little bit more towards each other. Right? Sure. But obviously the world isn't an individual player situation or a manager situation like on your team, something like that. Like, what is your open door policy when it comes to communication when a player may have some concerns, whatever may be going on, stuff like that in their life?
Yeah, I tell my players this: we could talk about anything and everything.
Right.
If you're going through stuff at home, there's stuff going on with your girl. There's, we do have a large minority. Most of Washington is Black and Hispanic.
Right.
You want to talk about your race and how you feel about it. You want to talk about whatever it is that's going on in your life. I was really lucky with my head coach. He was like a father figure to me. I went to him with everything.
Right.
Me and my girl arguing, or stupid high school drama. Right. There's stuff going on at home. There's this going on. So we'll talk about anything. And I think the biggest thing too, that a role that a coach can play, is sometimes you can't go to mom and dad with everything, right? Or you feel uncomfortable, or they instead of it being a conversation, it's a lecture, or they're getting down on you. And I think an important role a coach can play is it's a mediator, or hey, we can talk about stuff that you might not be able to talk about with anybody else.
Right.
And my head coach that I played for, and some other guys I was able to work under, they were great with that. And hey, let's talk about this. This is going on at home, or this is going on in my life. And I would never talk to my mom about those things because I didn't feel comfortable, or I didn't want to, or I was scared because I was going to get in trouble, right? So we have a huge open door policy with our players. And the biggest thing is, let's build that relationship. Because I want 10 years from now, I want you to come back and help me coach and give back to the school the way we're trying to. Or I want you to come back and say, hey, let's talk because you love me and I love you. And I just want to see what's going on in your life.
That's very important that you discuss that with me, because, kids and parents need to see that. So when they see this video, they'll understand what's going on.
Right.
So you understand Washington has a brand new coach.
Yeah.
Coach Lopez is going to take over there. Some of the staff, you say you have staff, but how many assistants you have?
Yeah, so I got really lucky. Our freshman coach, whose name is Brian Patterson, and our JV coach, his name is Anthony Fears, they were with the last head coach, and they're both on campus. So I really wanted to keep them on, because having coaches on campus is
it's phenomenal.
From a perspective of you get to watch over them, and it's perspective of they're there, right? And when you're not a coach on campus, it's really hard. The past couple of years at O'Connor, we didn't have any coaches on campus, and it was hard. And keep it up on stuff, kids' grades and stuff. So our head coach is making a huge priority. The head coach at O'Connor is making a huge priority to be on campus as much as he can. And he works security at games. He works the gate at games. He's trying to be there as much as he can. So I was able to keep those two guys on. And I was able to hire another guy named Adam Mears. Who's going to be with me. He's going to be my right-hand guy as my varsity assistant. So he reached out to me and wanted to be a part of it. And I've been really lucky to put a staff around me that is loyal. The biggest thing about coaching staffs is I can teach you how to coach, I think. And if I can't teach you how to coach, then I need to become a better coach.
Right.
But I can't teach anyone how to be loyal. And the biggest thing on a coaching staff you'll hear a lot of coaches say is they got to be extremely loyal. And I saw the episode with you and Coach Stansberry over at Mesa. It's hard to get coaches, man. It's hard to get loyal dudes that don't have their own agenda. And we have core values for our coaching staff as well. So first core values, you have to have a willingness to serve. You have to be committed. I'm going to ask you to take time away from your wife and your kids. And the last thing is you got to be loyal, man. That's the biggest thing. We're not here for us. We're here for the kids. And if you have a coaching staff that's loyal, everything is going to be fine because you'll teach them how to coach.
That's true. You'll teach them how to coach, and it makes you a better coach and a better leader. It's the most important thing. So we decided to move up from coaching one day, and stuff like that.
Right.
But I'm excited for you, Coach. I definitely feel like Washington needs to get out there. Me myself is going to do more research on the school.
Appreciate it.
Get people come in stands. I'm going to come in the stands.
Appreciate it. Love to have. If we have fans, we'd love to have everybody.
Well, if I had to stand in the hallway, I will. I just wanted to see, because I invest in my guests. They're alum on the City Coaches Podcast.
Appreciate it.
So I always make sure I check up on you guys and such things like that.
Appreciate
Is
it.
there any message you want to get out before we head out today?
Yeah, man. I think the biggest thing is being a new head coach at a new program, and trying to expose our program as much as we can. I think it's really important for everybody during this time. And I'm talking mainly to coaches. Is reach out. I try to call a different head coach every day and just try to pick his brain.
Yes.
It's hard being at home all the time. I have a significant other, but I feel so bad for her. She's probably so tired of me by now. But reach out to coaches, connect with coaches. I think this is a great opportunity. Like watching your past episodes, I know Coach Stansberry, but it was great I learned a lot from him. Like what he did with this program. You called him a JUCO coach. He was getting after it with the publicity and doing all that stuff.
Oh, he's ready.
He's awesome. We've exchanged film a couple times. He's awesome. I saw you talked to the head coach at Williamsville. I can't remember his name right now, but just connecting and learning from dudes is huge in our profession. So reach out to me. Call me. I'd love to pick everybody's brain. I'm only 29 years old, so I'm still trying to learn this thing as much as I can. So that's my message, is if you're a coach and you're watching this, is reach out to as many dudes as possible and learn as much as you can, man, because we are blessed with a wealth of knowledge that I think people that came before us do not have. So connect, learn, and the biggest thing is share what you have. I was listening to a podcast with Kevin Hart not too long ago. we have a wealth of knowledge, but some dudes will hold on to it like they don't want to share it. They don't want to give away the secret.
Right.
I'll give you everything. I just want to learn as much as I can. And so connect, learn, and share, man. I think those are the biggest things, especially at this time right now, as we're all kind of waiting.
Yeah, that's what's like. And like you said, what you give, I can give to you because I'm gonna keep learning more.
Sure.
So that's the way. That's the way it goes. Coach, so definitely, you want to give out your handle or anything? Social
Yeah,
media,
I'm on Twitter. I'm not a big Twitter. I don't post a lot on social media,
Okay.
but I'm on Twitter. I'm on Twitter to learn and follow from other coaches. So it's at Coach Ernie 34. Find me on there. Email, Ernie3424@gmail.com. Shoot me an email, learn and everything like that. So, my biggest thing with this new job at Washington is I'm super humbled by the experience, and that community is going to be great. And here's the other thing I learned too recently is if a head coach is in a community for 10 years, 20 years, they change that community for the better, hopefully, right?
Yes,
so
yes.
I'm really looking forward to that. I'm really looking forward to learning from some other dudes, and I've only been here in Phoenix for 2 years now, and it's great. Never going back, and as long as it's not too hot, I'll be outside doing my thing, man.
And you'll deal with it. Well, I would say, well, Coach, I want to thank you for
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate you for having me. Really appreciate it. Yep.
Appreciate you guys checking another episode. Check me out at City of Coaches Podcast. You can catch me out on Spotify, YouTube, all that good stuff that you go to. Catch the handle, Coach D.O. Woods on Twitter. Coach, I thank you. Appreciate you.
12 seconds left. They won't take a timeout. Hill takes the jumper. Good! The biggest question is, was it too soon? There are still 4 seconds left. It can be an eternity.
Well, you can say it was too soon, but I'm not sure that it really was. You just want to get one up. Right here, Keith Hill, who's played big games, as we talked about before, against Vegas, shoots the shot. I don't think he was shooting for the glass, but I'll tell you what, it's a safe shot to shoot because the glass is more forgiving. I think Hill just wanted to get it up there. It goes in. Now you're looking at 4 seconds.
Watch Neil McCarthy.
He's got a typical coach's reaction.
Yeah,
he realized it's not over, guys. And he's all of a sudden, look at him. He's trying to tell his players, regroup, guys. The game is not over yet. We're playing against a good team, and he knows it.
Trying to keep his players off the court.